The cold wind of the North Atlantic whipped across the waves as the sun set on March 23, 1951. Somewhere in the frigid expanse, a massive C-124 Globemaster II with a double-decked cargo hold cut through the sky. This powerhouse of an airlifter, designed to carry the most oversized and unwieldy cargo, had become an unsung hero of the Cold War, ferrying everything from tanks to missiles across continents. Yet, tonight, something had gone terribly wrong. Flying over the desolate expanse, the crew of C-124A 490244 sent out a frantic Mayday. A fire had erupted in the cargo hold. Desperation set in as they jettisoned mysterious crates into the icy waters below, hoping to save themselves from the flames. But the fire was unforgiving. With no other option, they prepared to ditch the plane 700 miles southwest of Ireland. The Globemaster touched down on the ocean, miraculously intact. The crew quickly deployed life rafts, igniting flares in the cold darkness. A B-29 pilot flying out of England spotted their desperate signals and reported their location before fuel forced him to leave. Rescue seemed within reach. But when help finally arrived, nearly 19 hours later, all that remained were empty, partially deflated rafts and charred debris from the crates. The men of C-124A 490244 had vanished without a trace. Whether the Atlantic claimed the brave airmen, or whether they fell victim to a Soviet attack, the remains of the 490244 would uncover one of the Cold War's most perplexing mysteries. The Douglas C-124 Globemaster II is a colossus of American aviation. Known affectionately as Old Shaky by those who flew it, the C-124 was a symbol of the United States' ability to project power across the globe during the Cold War. The C-124 Globemaster II was born out of necessity in the late 1940s, a time when the world was rapidly dividing into opposing blocs, and the United States needed a heavy-lift cargo aircraft capable of transporting large amounts of military equipment and personnel over vast distances. The Douglas Aircraft Company, drawing from its experiences with the earlier C-74 Globemaster, embarked on the development of this new aircraft. Lessons learned during the Berlin airlift, where rapid and massive air transport was crucial, heavily influenced the design of the C-124. The development of the C-124 began in 1947, with the goal of creating an aircraft that could meet the demands of modern warfare. The design was ambitious, incorporating 4 Pratt & Whitney R4360 Wasp major piston engines, each producing a formidable 3,800 horsepower. This immense power allowed the C-124 to carry a staggering 68,500 pounds of cargo, an unprecedented capacity at the time. The cargo bay, measuring 77 feet in length, was equipped with 2 overhead hoists, each capable of lifting 8,000 pounds, making the C-124 the only aircraft of its era capable of transporting fully assembled heavy equipment like tanks and bulldozers. One of the C-124's most innovative features was its accessibility. The aircraft was designed with 2 large clamshell doors at the nose and a hydraulically actuated ramp, allowing for easy loading and unloading of cargo. Additionally, a cargo elevator under the aft fuselage provided further flexibility in operations, enabling the loading of oversized items directly onto the aircraft. In its passenger-carrying role, the C-124 could transport up to 200 fully equipped troops on its double-decked interior, or accommodate 127 litter patients along with their medical attendants, showcasing its versatility in both combat and humanitarian missions. The C-124 made its maiden flight on November 27, 1949, marking the beginning of its service life. The aircraft was initially produced as the C-124A, followed by the more advanced C-124C model, which featured more powerful engines and additional technological enhancements, such as the APS-42 weather radar housed in a thimble-like structure on the nose. Wingtip-mounted combustible heaters were also introduced to keep the cabin warm and enable de-icing of the wings and tail surfaces, critical improvements for operations in diverse and challenging environments. The Globemaster II quickly became the backbone of the United States Air Force's heavy lift capability. As the Douglas C-124 Globemaster II entered service in 1950, it immediately demonstrated its revolutionary capabilities, proving essential in supporting U.S. military operations during the Korean War. The aircraft's immense cargo capacity and ability to transport fully assembled heavy equipment directly to the front lines gave the United States a critical logistical advantage. The C-124 wasn't just a plane, it was a strategic asset that allowed the U.S. military to maintain its momentum in a conflict thousands of miles from home. Beyond the Korean War, the C-124 became an indispensable tool for the U.S. Air Force, taking on a variety of missions across the globe. One of its most notable roles was in Operation Deep Freeze, the mission to supply U.S. scientific stations in Antarctica. The C-124's design, built to handle extreme conditions and large loads, made it ideal for this operation, where it delivered crucial supplies to one of the most remote and inhospitable places on Earth. This mission highlighted the aircraft's versatility and reliability, solidifying its reputation as a workhorse capable of performing under the most challenging conditions. During the Vietnam War, the C-124 was instrumental in the massive logistics network that supported American forces. The aircraft was tasked with transporting essential supplies, such as vehicles, ammunition, and medical equipment, from the U.S. to the various bases in Southeast Asia. Its ability to move vast quantities of material over long distances without requiring extensive ground infrastructure made it a critical asset in the U.S. military's efforts in Vietnam. The C-124 also played a significant role in the Strategic Air Command, or SAC, where it was used to transport nuclear weapons and other critical materials between air bases. From 1950 to 1962, SAC operated 50 C-124s, underscoring the aircraft's importance in the U.S. deterrent strategy during the Cold War. The Globemaster II was not just a cargo hauler. It was a key player in the United States' nuclear strategy, ensuring that nuclear assets were always ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. As the Cold War continued, the C-124's operational role began to shift, with the introduction of newer jet-powered aircraft like the Lockheed C-141 Starlifter. The Military Air Transport Service, or MATS, which later became the Military Airlift Command, or MAC, began to phase out the C-124 in favor of these more advanced planes. However, the C-124 continued to serve in the Air Force Reserve and Air National Guard, continuing a storied and eventful career. In total, 448 C-124 Globemaster IIs were built, and they served for nearly 25 years across the frozen expanses of Antarctica, the jungles of Vietnam, and the strategic air bases of Europe. The C-124 proved time and again that it was more than just a cargo plane. It was a vital tool that redefined military logistics during one of the most critical periods in modern history. It was in this role that the Globemaster II starred in one of its most enigmatic chapters. The cold, unforgiving waters of the North Atlantic became the stage for one of the most perplexing mysteries of the Cold War. On March 23, 1951, C-124A Globemaster II, number 490244, a massive cargo plane, known for its reliability, embarked on what was supposed to be a routine transatlantic flight from Loring Air Force Base in Maine to RAF Mildenhall in England. On board were 53 passengers, including high-ranking officers from the U.S. Air Force's Strategic Air Command, tasked with overseeing the transport of critical cargo, possibly related to America's burgeoning nuclear arsenal. What began as a standard mission would soon turn into a chilling enigma that still haunts military historians. As the Globemaster II flew over the desolate expanse of the North Atlantic, trouble struck. A fire erupted in the cargo hold, creating an emergency that threatened the lives of everyone on board. In a desperate bid to save the aircraft, the crew jettisoned several crates into the ocean, crates whose contents have never been fully disclosed. Despite their best efforts, the fire continued to rage, leaving the crew with no choice but to prepare for a controlled ditching in the icy waters below. The C-124A made a remarkably smooth landing on the ocean's surface, a testament to the skill of its crew and the sturdy design of the aircraft. Quickly, The crew deployed life rafts and sent out distress signals, which were soon picked up by a B-29 pilot flying out of England. This pilot, seeing the flares in the rafts below, radioed the exact location of the survivors before being forced to return to base due to low fuel. At that moment, rescue seemed assured. It was only a matter of time before help would arrive. However, the situation took a baffling turn. When rescue planes and ships finally reached the scene nearly 19 hours later, they found only eerie silence where there had been hope. The life rafts were still there, some partially deflated and floating aimlessly in the vast expanse of the ocean. But the men who had occupied them were gone, as was most of the debris from the aircraft. All that remained were a few charred fragments of the jettisoned crates, offering no clues as to what had happened in the hours since the initial sighting. The disappearance of the 53 men from C-124 490244 was as sudden as it was complete, plunging the incident into the realm of mystery. How could so many trained personnel, equipped with life-saving gear, vanish without a trace? Theories began to emerge almost immediately, fueled by the Cold War context in which this tragedy occurred. The potential involvement of Soviet forces, known to be operating in the area, added a layer of intrigue and fear. The fact that high-ranking SAC officers were among the missing only deepened suspicions that this was no ordinary accident. The mysterious disappearance of C-124 Globemaster II 490244 has fueled numerous conspiracy theories over the decades. One of the most persistent suggests that the aircraft was carrying nuclear weapons, making it a prime target for Soviet forces. The abrupt disappearance of the survivors, some of whom were high-ranking SAC members with intimate knowledge of U.S. nuclear capabilities, only adds weight to this theory. Some speculate that Soviet submarines, known to have been in the vicinity, might have intercepted the survivors and taken them captive, a chilling possibility that fits the Cold War's clandestine nature. Adding to the mystery is a note allegedly discovered in 2006 on the shores of County Galway, Ireland. The note, found in a sealed metal tin, hinted at foul play, suggesting that the Globemaster had altered its course for unknown reasons and was under surveillance. The note's authenticity remains debated, but its implications have sparked further speculation about the true nature of the mission and the events that led to the aircraft's disappearance. The incident has also left a mark on popular culture. Some believe it may have inspired Ian Fleming's 1961 novel Thunderball, where a British bomber carrying nuclear weapons is hijacked and crashed into the sea, a plot eerily reminiscent of the 490244 incident. Real-life parallels include the 1974 CIA operation involving the GSF Explorer, a ship designed to recover a sunken Soviet submarine, showcasing how Cold War events blurred the lines between fiction and reality. Despite numerous investigations and endless speculation, the fate of 490244 remains one of the Cold War's most enduring mysteries. The lack of concrete evidence and the passage of time has only deepened the intrigue, ensuring that this incident remains a poignant reminder of the era's tension, secrecy, and the human cost of global power struggles.